Let's take a look at local variables. Now, if you have some variables or some attributes that you want to use them within your Terraform configuration, you can pass these attributes as local variables. Now, some of these variables are not necessarily stored in a var.terraform file, but we store them in a well, but we store them as locals. So within your main Terraform or the configuration file that you have all your resources in, you can actually specify these variables and give them default values. So when you specify this value, once you specify these variables within your main Terraform and give them defined values, we call those variables locals. So you can have a local and then you specify the set of values that are attributed to resources. Now these values or these attributes are not key to a particular resource. So you will not see a local variable that is key maybe to an S3 bucket or to an EC2 instance or to an RDS or to a security group or whatever the case. These variables are not key to a particular resource. You can use these locals across multiple resources. So if I declare my variable as locals, I can use this within my main configuration file, my main config file. That's the main.terraform file. And then I'll use these variables with resources like the S3, resource like an EC2, resource like an RDS, resource like an RDS, and the list continues, other resources. So once you specify your locals, these values can be used or these variables can be used across different resources. So let's go ahead to create the locals and see how local variables work. So we come back to our folder here and then we create a new folder. We call it 5 variables locals. And with this, we come into the main folder, we create a main.terraform. We create our variable.terraform, and then we create our provider.terraform. So you come back to our configuration files in project 4, you open the main.terraform and you copy the main.terraform. You come to the newly created main.terraform in project 5 and you paste. You go to the provider.terraform in the previous one, you copy provider.terraform. You come to provider.terraform in the next, you paste, and then you come to variables.terraform in the fourth project. You copy variables.terraform, and then you come to variables.terraform in the fifth project and you paste. Now, for us to use locals in the feed project, remember we are pasting this to save time. So for us to define these temporary values that you can use in a configuration file in our main.terraform, we can define these values in the locals block. So we are going to go ahead and create a locals block. We begin by using the keyword locals, and then now the local means that you want to create a given set of values that can be used within or that can be used in this configuration file. So let's take, for example, we want to create values like project tags. So we want tags that will be added irrespective of the resource. So if you say project tags, we want to add these tags to any resource that we are going to be creating. This tag is not tied maybe to EC2 or S3 or any given service. So we are going to be creating a local project tags that can be used for tagging any resource in a configuration file. So we give project tags equal, and then now we open curly brace. We can create a value project and we give the name of the project. That means wherever we are going to be using this project tags, it should have the name of the project. So you can say migration project, and then you can also give another tag like the team, and then we can say it is the DevOps team, and then the environment can pass it as staging environment. You know that you have created a new block we call it locals, and these locals enable us to define values that can be used temporarily within our configuration file. So now in the place of tags here, we are not going to be using the vars or Terraform. We now want that all our resources in our environment should be tagged using our locals. So for us to do that, we come now to tags. Instead of us passing a particular value that we're using for the tag of the EC2 instance, we are now going to tag this EC2 instance using the locals. So for us to go ahead to tag our instance, we now say our tag equal locals dot project tags. It means now that if you are to create this EC2 instance, by default, this EC2 instance is going to have a project tags. If you create a second instance or you create an S3 bucket or create any other resource with locals, you can easily tag the resource with these given tags, and these locals are basically temporary values that you want to use within your configuration file. For us to go ahead to use this, let's clear and then we do a we cd into the directory. We have a feed directory has been created, so we cd 5 and then we do terraform init. So once terraform init is complete, we can go ahead to run terraform plan, and now we input the values of the AMI ID. So let's copy the values from our previous project. We come to var.terraform, we copy the values of the AMI ID, copy, paste the value of the tag test instance, then t2.micro. Once you do that, they'll tell you one resource to add, zero to change and stuff. Now if you come to our tag section, you now see we have new tags. The tags that have been added, we now have a tag for the environment, staging, the project, migration, and the teams, DevOps teams. And these tags are tags that were specified in our local. So we call this, we created a locals project tags, and then we now pass that tag to our tag for the EC2 resource. If you have to create other resources and pass this same tag to those resources, they will get the tag. So that is how you can use locals to easily tag resources within your configuration files.